And my name is Amy Langford. I appreciate your time here today. And I am from Ohio, and I'd like to share a few of my favorite things today. The first is manufacturing enhancement to support for purchase receipts, corrections, and cancellations. And secondly is in finance, and that is the enhanced foreign currency payment feature. As many of you know, in 2025 R1, Acumatica launched the purchase order receipt, corrections, and cancellations for distributions. Now, in 2026 R1, they have expanded that onto manufacturing. However, it's currently not available if the service management feature is enabled. If you go to your purchase order receiving menu, you'll find that the corrections is now under the More menu, which is the three dots. You can favorite those to have them appear up at the top. If you don't see those options, then you need to go into your Enable Disabled Features functions and make sure that Service Management is not enabled. One other caveat is receipts that are associated with a production order are not eligible for correction or cancellation, and that's to protect the integrity of that whole production order flow. And one other thing, if you have a purchase order receipt that has already been billed, you'll either need to cancel or delete that bill to reverse or correct that purchase order receipt. I'm going to hop back over to Acumatica now and go through the process of canceling a receipt. So I have a Home Depot receipt, and you'll see I've received 100 quantity, and maybe I only meant to receive in 10 because, unlike Ben Gray, I make mistakes from time to time, and those need to be corrected. So again, you'll find these under the three dots. I've highlighted or favorited my corrections. I'm going to pop over and correct my receipt. And as I mentioned before, you have to make sure that you don't have a bill attached to that receiving in order to correct or cancel it. And you can tell from here under billing that we have nothing attached. I'll go ahead and change the quantity on my details to 10 and release that order. And once this is finished executing, we can pop over to the general ledger and look at those transactions. My computer's a little sleepy. We had a big lunch today, so give it one sec to wake up and get moving. And here we go. Let's go over to our general transactions, do a little refresh, pull up our receiving correction. And you'll notice that our first receiving with 100 has been reversed, and the second receipt of 10 has debited your inventory asset account, and we're good to go there. I'm going to pop back over to my slideshow onto our next feature. And that is the enhancement for foreign currency payment experience. What that boils down to is it's a heck of a lot easier to post payments when you have either issued an invoice to your customer in foreign currency or you need to pay a vendor in foreign currency. In the past, you had to calculate that cross rate or exchange rate, and sometimes that resulted in some rounding discrepancies, and you had to play back and forth with entering that payment. That's no longer the case. It's much more logical and intuitive now. And I'll pop back over to Acumatica and walk us through that process. We're going to go into our receivables and into our invoices and choose an invoice that has been issued in foreign currency to pay. When the system brings up that invoice, it reflects the amount that was billed in that foreign currency. And in this case, it's going to be in euros. You can see that amount here and here. So it's 1,200 euros. Once we go to pay it, the system will allow us to enter the amount that we received into our bank account in dollars, into our base currency amount. And we can change and update that amount as needed. And we no longer need to calculate that exchange rate or cross rate. The first thing we can do is look at this payment amount at the top. That's the amount of the whole payment. The system is expecting $1,400 based on the current exchange rate. We can pretend like we've received like $1,450. We have to put it in the top to begin with, and then we need to tab down to our detail screen and apply that amount to the individual invoices. And we are looking for this amount paid field in US dollars. We simply change that to 1,450 to match our total payment. You'll notice that our cross rate changes. The system is now calculating that for us on its own. We no longer have to figure that out, which is great. It's really intuitive, really simple. We're working mostly in our base currency, which is super helpful. And once this is completed, you'll be able to see that the system knows exactly what general ledger entries to make to finalize the entries to this transaction. Going to check my financial tab, and I'm going to look at my batch. And as you can see, the system has debited our checking account for the amount received in US dollars. The original invoice amount was issued for our base currency of $1,411.32, and the difference was then posted to our gain loss account that we specified. The same holds true for our accounts payable side of the board. If we issue a payment in foreign currency, for instance, we're wiring US or some euros to a different vendor of ours, the system will allow us now to have that same functionality to pay this bill in US dollars. So for this example, we have paid in euros $1,250, but a different amount has been deducted from our US bank. So I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong, 1,250 euro, and we need to pay this in dollars. And it's similar functionality as I said before. The system, based on cross exchange rate, is expecting an amount of $1,455 to be paid, but we've only paid $1,400 today because we're winning and in great shape. We put in the amount in US dollars at the top. At the bottom, we have to specify again the amount paid in US dollars. We release our payment. The system automatically has calculated our cross rate. We don't have to mess with that anymore. Super fast, super easy. Gotta love it. And this will behave much in the same manner as our cash receipt in that it knows what accounts to debit and credit, and it does so in our current currency. We can drill down to our general ledger. And again, we issued $1,400 from our checking account. The system thought we would owe $1,470.12, and we also had a cash discount on this guy. And then the $55.98 was posted to the appropriate currency exchange rate fluctuation account. And that does it for those guys. But as Mimi alluded to, I have some bonus questions here, a bonus round that y'all are just going to love if you are dealing with GIs and pivot tables. Let me tell you, I don't know if you've ever had to figure out an AP debit adjustment has to have this crazy formula to display a negative. That is no longer the case. Acumatica has listened to you all and done us a great favor of helping us to eliminate some of these if-then formulas that I know some of y'all out there love, but some of us don't. And for example, a recent GI that I built for one of our customers had this lengthy formula. It's an if-then statement that if I have a debit memo and I want that amount to display as negative, I have to multiply that AP invoice.courier original docket amount by -1 in order for that to display correctly. We were building this as an export for the customer's bank. And obviously, we don't want to pay a debit memo. So I had to show up as negative. And full disclosure, I had an extra little pesky period in here and the formula wasn't working. And I spent an hour trying to find this pesky period, and God love my customer, she found it. Now, if I'd had this new easier formula, not a problem. Just put in this undersigned signed. So your tip for the day is when you're building new GIs and pivot tables, look for a field that ends in underside signed, and that's how you know that the system is going to reflect the proper signage on that field. So hopefully everybody loves that. I know we all love it here because I wouldn't say we've struggled, but you have to remember to make that change when you are doing your formulas. That's all I have for today. I will say that's all the undersigned signed is in all these areas, as you can see, an AP and AR invoicing, AP invoicing, and then also payments for AR and AP. And with that being said, thank you so much for your time and attention today.